surface is continuously evolving. So we have to have a strategy that involves innovation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining for this critical session on all things healthcare infrastructure and cybersecurity. Thank you both. I think before we get started, everyone knows this is a critical conversation to be had, and I want to put that into perspective with some numbers. So in 2021, 45 million people were impacted by healthcare breaches. 2 years before that, in 2020, 34 million people were impacted by healthcare breaches. Dr. Marwan, now more than ever, we need healthcare systems to identify, respond, and report these breaches. I'd love to know, what are some key components in your perspective to build a resilient cybersecurity strategy, but also a disaster recovery strategy?
Thank you for highlighting the importance of such a topic. And I think for any organization, it's very important to start with identifying what's infrastructure to them. For us, Pure Health, anything that can potentially can be a compromise, can potentially impact the way we provide services, either quantity or quality, is infrastructure to us. And with our journey toward having a hospital on cloud, and I think everyone have seen the launch of Pura, that's just one step toward that. Cybersecurity is very important to us, and we take it very seriously. To that end, we established actually a cybersecurity center dedicated just to protect our infrastructure. And this center is able to proactively forecast threats that are constantly changing and evolving, be able to detail those the threats and address any vulnerabilities or risks that it's within our network. Also, the center is actually able to use AI to be able to look at trends, give analysis, and help us do so. Yeah. That's one way of addressing it. Not just to protect our business as well, because we also have a very valuable asset, which is patient information. And we take it very seriously, and we do all what we can to protect that. And for that to happen, we obviously need very resilient, very strong cybersecurity that is agile, reliable, and protected all the time.
We'll come back to Pura later. Yasser, you founded an AI-driven cybersecurity firm. Similar question, so what makes for a good strategy? Tell us.
Yeah, perfect. So I think just to add to Dr. Marwan's what he shared, I think since from healthcare sector perspective, we hold a lot of critical infrastructure, sensitive data, patient data. So having a very robust cybersecurity strategy becomes essential. And in that, I think the first thing is, and again, first thing would be to have visibility. The visibility across what you're protecting, right? All the assets that you have in that you protect. And that can involve the apps that you have, apps that are built now from generative AI perspective also, all the healthcare information, the data that you have, the data flows that are going in, and just like human assets also, right? Like, so having a visibility across them would be essentially a key thing. The second thing is, like, when you look into cybersecurity industry as a whole, we have around like 3,500 vendors in cybersecurity today. And every industry, every organizations, they will have their own infrastructure, cybersecurity, and IT. So you will have to have a very robust strategy around integrating all these technologies and unify it with your internal strategy. So that you can have a streamlined operations working towards it. We do have a healthcare like cybersecurity skills shortage. So like modifying it and having a strategy that involves technologies that may be for the region specific, where you have all the knowledgeable people, skill set, they can utilize these technologies better, would be kind of the key thing. And the third thing would be innovation, like you mentioned, right? Like, we are going through at different times. Now, we had gone through a moment in history where we started to adopt cloud, and now AI is also coming in. So our attack surface is continuously evolving. So we have to have a strategy that involves innovation, and you are able to adapt into the evolving threats. And the final thing I would say is like educating your staff, right? Like the weakest link still is considered to be human, so we have to empower them. If you look at into healthcare breaches, like you pointed out, I think the biggest healthcare breach involved 79 million records of data being stolen by threat actors, and it all started from a phishing email. So this is where AI can come in and play a key role. To that effect, what we at Strike Ready built, we built an AI system called Kara. It's conversational AI in nature, so it was very much like in line with the times that we are living in. You can forward those phishing emails, and the system can analyze and help your healthcare staff into recognizing whether to click on these emails or not, or interact with or not. So it involves, like, just to summarize, visibility, integrations, innovation, and training is the key.
I'd love to hear if there's anything happening at Strike Ready to address the skills shortage, but also this training.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all these vast amount of technologies that you have, the vast amount of data, like threats that are evolving over there, right? It becomes like difficult for us humans to scale. So you can always augment AI, bring in different forms. It can be analytics, like Dr. Marwan mentioned, in generating new insights, but it can be essentially augmenting humans, right? Humans into getting more knowledgeable and take more actionable decisions when it comes to actually like enhancing their skill set, or like taking actions into day-to-day operations.
Yeah, I hear empowering patients, and that's a good segue. We were talking about, you mentioned Pura yesterday, and we were introduced to Pura, the new AI assistant, personalized assistant app yesterday by Pure Health. Dr. Marwan, that could not have been easy for you and your team. Tell us about the role of technology, but also collaboration in developing such new solutions, but also tackling evolving threats.
Yeah, definitely to develop such a solution, you need to be, first of all, identify the risks, and to identify how to mitigate that risk, or protect yourself against those threats or risks that you already identified. So for that to happen, you need to work with experts internally and externally. You need to be able to make a good use of technologies, because as Yas was mentioning, it's not always accessible to have skillful people to do all that load of work you would require. So technology has helped us bridge a lot of those shortages, if you like. And obviously, we also need to work with our partners internally and internationally. Threats are constantly changing, evolving, and we need to be ahead of the game all the time. We cannot wait for it to happen, so we start addressing it. That's why we try to be proactive with our approach, constantly looking at those trends internationally, listening to experts who look at those potential threats, and forecasting what's happening. So we are ready. Actually, we did, and we don't need to wait for them to happen to us before we start addressing them.
Of course, I think the common denominator of this summit has been prevention.
Yes, exactly.
You mentioned trends. I would love to hear what do you forecast, and how are you combating, a trend, for example, within cybersecurity?
It's very difficult to define like one trend, then work on it. It's really changing as fast as, I think, probably faster than anything else, because the value of the assets we have is huge. And that's why people who are trying to sabotage or damage or even get access to those assets are there all the time. So that's why it's not like one trend that whenever you address a risk, then obviously you would expect another one coming on the way. So you need to be always investing in improving your cybersecurity, investing in your capabilities, and that's not always an easy discussion with the CFO.
I'm sure, but I'm sure you do it well. We also have found out that clinical data is some of the most sought after data in the world. It makes sense why there's so many healthcare breaches. Yasser, I'd love to hear what is the significance and impact of cybersecurity to develop attempts of a unified data system within healthcare?
No, that is a very good question. In that sense, so if we envision a future where healthcare providers are able to work on a universe of unified shared data, that is not science fiction anymore, right? Like that is very, very essential into developing programs for like better patient services and then streamline the operations. And also then it comes to like bolstering your cybersecurity defenses. Now in that sense, just narrowing it down on cybersecurity in general, which is something that we cannot actually live without, like it's our needs of the time with all the sensitive data and everything that we need to protect. In that, like imagine kind of a system where health practitioners, cybersecurity practitioners at healthcare providers, they have a unified system where they are able to actually get access to a global view into what is happening out there with respect to cybersecurity threats, right? Like they can learn, they can be a little bit ahead of what may come after them. Now that system, if it is integrated with the critical infrastructure and very much customized into what you are supposed to protect, then it becomes the best of the both worlds kind of thing. So a unified system that has global intelligence in that your practitioners are able to actually stay ahead of the threats and then protect you against those threats in a more advanced way. Now, to get this thing to be done, right, like imagine if you have a system, and we can talk about like how we are kind of building it, but like a hospital A gets compromised with a malware that is exploiting a vulnerability that is generated by, let's say, from a future perspective, Gen AI systems, right? There is a vulnerability in that software that gets compromised. Now, if this healthcare system is connected to a unified data system, which is actually learning from it and generating and providing insights into it, that system can actually, in real time or like collaboratively generate insight that there is a new threat that is out there in the world that is getting exploited by certain kind of threat actors. So everybody who's connected to this health like unified data system, they can get actually prepped into alerting and enhancing their defensive mechanism against that threat, if that is relevant to you. Because not every single threat is going to be relevant to you, right? Like there are like lots and lots of threat actors with their vested information. But having a unified data system that can actually generate insights, then that can be a very, very robust in that. So I think this will be very, very useful to anybody in the practitioner space in the threat like this. Yeah.
I want to hear a comparison with sectors. I mean, I'm sure you work across a lot of sectors, but with healthcare specifically, are there misconceptions around what can be done? And also compare that to perhaps demand. This is a follow-up question, but you operate out of the US. If we compare MENA, the Middle East, to the Western Hemisphere, where does the demand lie for cybersecurity measures within the healthcare sector?
Yeah, so over the period of time, it has evolved a lot. Like there was a perception that maybe 10 years ago when I started in cybersecurity, I think the threats or the attacks were very, very different. There were a lot more opportunistic, like script kiddies also in the play they would win. But today the world has changed. Now, right, like the threats are at the nation state. And because of the geopolitical and all those like different times that we are in, MENA becomes very, very critical. I think there are lots and lots of different elements to it. Like we are growing, MENA is like experiencing a growth that has never been seen in the past. So it becomes very, very essential to like provide very next-gen cybersecurity defenses for different sectors, not just healthcare. But I think healthcare, it's just that the amount of sensitive data and the critical data, like all the PII, for personally identifiable information that holds, healthcare becomes kind of a key thing, like very much targeted by threat actors. But not to say that financial sector is also a key aspect that needs to be protected. Like a lot of threat actors, a lot of activity, especially in the MENA region also, with all the new investments coming out, getting generated from MENA region, that is becoming a key. So protecting this, like globally, becomes essential because, like I mentioned, in the end, it's all about like globally building a defense system that is helping you each other. So we can learn a lot what is happening in the MENA region, and then we can apply all those insights, can help like globally every organization stay ahead of the threats.
It's nice to hear that we're leading the way clearly with innovation. Just to wrap up, a final question, I will put you both on the spot, but is there any message that you would like to give stakeholders in the room? You know, what is perhaps not understood about cybersecurity, perhaps more investments or more public awareness? Any message that you'd like to share with the room?
It's not just specific to cybersecurity, but like protecting your infrastructure in general. You need to be like efficient and timely and obviously continuously investing in them. And what might help you to do so is actually partnering with the right partners. Being part of a big network give us an advantage of becoming more efficient. Obviously, you are more resilient, I believe, if you are in a bigger network or part of a coalition and good partnerships within the community. So considering those aspects is vital, I think, to make sure that your infrastructure are resilient and protected all the time.
Great takeaways. Yasser?
Yeah, I think from cybersecurity perspective, all I would like to say is like it's perceived that cybersecurity from a threats perspective, we have to up our defenses, like individually also when we are working at our offices. But now we live in a remote world, right? Like work from home, and that culture is there. So I think as things are evolving, cybersecurity needs to be understood at an individual capacity as well, right? Like so, just to give an example, right? Like not every single breach or threat would happen when you are using your enterprise systems or your enterprise email, right? Like threat actors, they are very much like when it comes to from nation state actors perspective, they target individuals as well, right? So your personal account becomes also a very key valuable assets. So you should actually have still consider upping your guard when you are interacting with your personal email as well, or like visiting websites or those kind of things. So I think educating generally masses also becomes essential in the new world because, for example, like your personal account can compromised, and that can be used into business email compromise, where you are able to, from your work perspective, like some information can be actually shared on those like personal emails, and that can lead into breaches at the enterprise level. So it has to be a very collective effort, and we all have to be actually play a part in it.
All right, I think collaboration, investments, but also prevention are the key takeaways. I think we all know that we need healthcare systems to apply the best cybersecurity strategies, not only to avoid operational dysfunction, but for elevating patient trust care, and that obviously affects delivery and quality care. That's all the time we have for, but thank you both for your insights. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you for having us.